You ready for another conversation? It's Adrienne Lawrence, and I got one for you. This time, it's Senior Communications and Political Director at United We Dream, Bruna Sollod. Thanks for joining us, Bruna.
Thank you, Adrienne, for having me.
Yes, so right now there has been a big push, at least there was a big push in terms of immigration reform. And we had 90 Dems who are out there advocating. Can you tell us what is happening or what happened?
So lots of things happening this week, Adrienne. Just today, the Democrats and Republicans met with the parliamentarian in the Senate to pitch to her the proposal to add work permits and deportation protections to the Senate version of the Build Back Better package. Now, we don't know what the parliamentarian could say. We don't have any news yet, but I think what's important about this process is that it's not about the parliamentarian. It's not about these procedural arcane rules of the Senate. It's about people, the lives of millions of people. And ensuring that Democrats deliver citizenship for millions of people would mean deportation protections, would mean that families like mine wouldn't be afraid of family separation. And I think at the end of the day, a lot of times when we talk about these political things and these bills, we forget that at the end of the day, it's really about changing the lives of human beings.
Yes, and human beings indeed. There are a lot of lives out there that are impacted by immigration reform. And right now, in terms of the movement and actually getting the necessary support, where do you think things need to go?
So I know a couple things, and that is that we have a midterm election in 2022, and that Democrats in 2020 ran on a bold vision to not leave anyone behind. They ran on a vision to protect immigrants from deportation and from the attacks of Republicans and Trump. They ran on a vision to protect Black and brown people in this country from various other attacks. We are gonna hold Democrats accountable to that. And so we want them to deliver in the Build Back Better package. We know it's necessary. There's a lot of great things in the bill, like paid family leave, childcare, healthcare provisions. All of those things impact all of our families. But at the end of the day, we know that if Democrats don't deliver this year, they run a risk of voters not being enthusiastic, especially in states like Arizona and Nevada, where the Latino vote and the youth vote and the Black vote was so critical for Democrats to secure their win. So I think, as we're debating on immigration and Build Back Better, it's really about, do Democrats have the political will and the moral will to get this done?
Yes, and we are gonna have to see that definitely during the midterms. But in terms of, I guess, the resistance and what the agenda will be when it comes to the Republicans and trying to stop immigration reform, what do you expect is going to come out the most, or what kind of, I guess, angles do you think they're gonna use?
Well, we know Republicans are obstructionists, right? We know that they do not want to pass immigration reform. Even though if you think about it, back in 2008 and 2013, senators like Marco Rubio and senators like Lindsey Graham, they were pro passing immigration reform. They were pro passing citizenship, but their party has consistently shifted to the right. Now they're not coming to the table at all. I'm sure that they will, senators like Senator Cornyn in Texas will continue to speak ill of DACA, a program that protects myself from deportation right now. They'll continue to try to obstruct and not get citizenship to pass this year or any protections for immigrants. But I think it's important that at the end of the day that we remember we don't need Republicans, right? Like Democrats have a trifecta of power. They have the White House, they have the House, and they have the Senate because of the American people. Voters went out to vote in the middle of a pandemic. Voters in Georgia went out earlier this year to vote and to put Democrats in power so we could see these changes happening. And so it's not really up to Republicans of getting in the way. We know they will, but Democrats need to stay strong and be able to deliver for the voters that deliver for them.
Yes, they definitely need to stay strong. And there have been a few out there, Democrats, whether it's Joe Manchin or Kyrsten Sinema, who have really been obstructionists to a certain extent, much aligned with the Republican agenda. And so I think there are some concerns that they could get in the way. What would you say, I guess, to those individuals or say to their constituents who we should really try to sway so that we can get the immigration reform that's necessary?
Well, when talking about, Senator Kyrsten Sinema, she was only able to get elected in a state like Arizona because of the Latino vote, because of the Black vote, because of the youth vote. She's there because of those voters. And those voters voted for bold policies. They voted for immigration reform. They voted for things that are included in Build Back Better. I think Kristen Sinema has forgotten who put her in power, right? She's catering right now to donors and not to her own voters. But I think the people of Arizona have been very outspoken. We've seen over the last few months a lot of action, a lot of folks putting their bodies on the line, getting arrested, doing hunger strikes, meeting her at the airport or on a plane. One of our own members, Karina, who lives in Arizona, saw Kristen Sinema on the plane and talked to her. And she told her, like, I'm at risk of deportation right now. I'm your constituent. I need you to deliver for me. I think you'll continue to see those things happening. But I think what you'll also see is if Democrats don't deliver, and if it's because of senators like Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin, then we will hold Democrats accountable, right? There's the midterm elections, but there's also a lot of other ways of holding Democrats accountable to ensure that they deliver for the people that put them in power.
Yes, they definitely need to deliver. And for some reason, if they're not, hopefully those midterm elections will have an impact, even though I don't necessarily know that it will on Sinema. But in terms of the work that you're doing at United We Dream, can you tell the viewers what your agenda is and what do you focus on?
So we're the largest immigrant youth-led network in the country. We were started by young undocumented people who wanted to organize in their communities and wanted to change the lives of their families. And we do a lot of work to ensure that we're advocating for pro-immigrant policies in Congress, but we're also doing the work in our communities to ensure that states like Arizona and Texas and Florida, states that a lot of our communities live in, are passing pro-immigrant policies. Just this year in Miami-Dade, for example, we were able to work with the Miami-Dade mayor to pass community IDs. And I know that doesn't seem like a big deal maybe to citizens who have driver's licenses, but a community ID can change the life of an undocumented immigrant, right? You need an ID for a lot of things. You can go to Home Depot and rent something from Home Depot and they ask you for an ID. So that makes a huge difference, right? We're fighting for deportation protections to defund ICE and CBP because we know it continues to exist. It doesn't matter that Biden is president. Detentions and deportations and family separation is still happening under a Democratic president. That is the reality that we live every day. If you're an undocumented immigrant in this country, it doesn't matter who's president. If ICE and CBP continue to exist and get billions of our tax dollars, then we are at risk of being put on that pipeline and being deported from the place we call home. So those are the issues that we fight for. And we're a group of like tenacious young people of color, queer people. We're led by a lot of immigrant women. And so I think you see that in the work that we do. You see that in the actions that we take. Our parents taught us to be resilient and to continue to fight for this because, like I said, this is our home. We're here to stay. So the fight, you'll see it in the next coming days and weeks, but I think you'll always see it from us because, our goal is to make this country a better place for all immigrants and all people of color.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people don't fully appreciate the fact that, as they say, we are all immigrants, but also too, how much individuals who migrate to this country or who come here, how much they contribute and make it the wonderful place that it is. And so if there are people out there who are watching who are kind of uncertain of the value that immigrants may bring to the United States, can you speak to the value, what a lot of people may be missing here?
Yeah, I'll speak about my own family. I am from Brazil and I grew up in Florida, undocumented. My parents were essential workers, are essential workers, have always been, but certainly were during the pandemic. They risked their lives every day. They continued to go to work while some folks got to stay home. And they risked getting COVID and they didn't have health insurance. And that reality is the reality for millions of immigrants across this country, right? Whether you're thinking of the farm workers who put food on our table, whether you're thinking of immigrants who worked in the healthcare industry or as caregivers, we risked a lot to be able to ensure that this country came back from the pandemic, and we're still doing it. And we have no pathway to citizenship. And what that means, pathway to citizenship can feel broad and big picture, but that means no access to healthcare, right? That means no deportation protections. That means no access to other government benefits, especially in the middle of a pandemic. So, my family is rooted here. We not only contribute to the economy, but to the culture of this country, to the communities we're a part of. And it's been 35 years since Congress has delivered any sort of federal legislation to protect immigrants and to give us a pathway to citizenship. So it's about time that millions of immigrants are, fully seen for their worth, but also their humanity. At the end of the day, immigrants are human beings. And we're deserving of citizenship just solely on the fact that we're human beings. And I think sometimes, that gets lost in the story. But like you said, we've been living in these communities for decades. And what we're asking for is what we need and also what we deserve.
Absolutely what you deserve, indeed. It does seem to be a very good point, the fact that we have a lot of immigrants out there who are working, contributing to society, paying taxes, and making this world a better place. So I know you just have a few more seconds or minutes left. So is there anything you'd like to say?
I think I'd like to speak to the allies right now. The allies who, when there was family separation under Trump, you came out to the streets and you fought for immigrants, the allies who fought to protect DACA at the Supreme Court. We need you to be outspoken in this moment. It's really, really important for us to be, ensuring that Democrats do what they need to do to deliver for all of us. Again, the Build Back Better package will benefit all of us, not just immigrants, but it's really, really important that immigrants don't get left out and that we include immigration protections for millions of people that will be life-changing, and it'll change this country. And I'll set the precedent. So I'm really calling on you. If you're an ally, you don't have to be an immigrant. You might not even know an immigrant. But if you took action with us during the Trump years, we need you to take action right now to get Democrats to deliver immigrant protection this year through the Build Back Better package.
Yes, that is something we definitely need. And I really appreciate all of your insight, your contributions, your hard work. The team you've brought together sounds incredibly progressive, and they're looking to bring us forward into the future because we do need to ensure immigrants have the proper protections. And so if people want to know more about your work, where can they find you?
They can follow us on Twitter at United We Dream.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us. It's Bruna Sollod from United We Dream. Thanks so much, Bruna.
Thanks, Adrienne.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.